This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to another edition of the Northland Sports Page. Anybody wondering, that song's called Good Times Roll. We let the good times roll from 10 to noon every Saturday. That song has always been an indicator that the show is about to start.
Ready to go.
As it's Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. But we've talked about that song can also mean you're at Mars Lakeview Arena because you like to do that for me. You did it again this week.
Yeah, when you come in the building, we play it just so you are ready to go.
Absolutely, and I was ready back earlier this week when Duluth Marshall played against the Lumberjacks of Cloquet Esco Carleton.
With our fancy laser and smoke show.
Right, Marshall pulling out all the stops for the hockey these days, and they'll be doing that again today. Mars Lakeview is going to be a busy spot, college and high school puck.
Yeah, we got a lot going on today. We've got the Saints women who won last night in overtime. Abby Polkamp, who's our captain, decided just to take the whole thing on her back and scored in overtime with like 30 seconds into overtime. Couple dangle moves and buried it, and the place went nuts, which was a lot of fun. Julianne needed a win, like she needed to breathe, and she got one. And then, the Hilltoppers are playing tonight. I'm sure we'll have another smoke show. It's against one of those.
And he means pregame. He's not predicting the score when he says that.
Yeah. No, I'm not. It's one of those teams. It's a conglomeration team that picks a different name, right? And
yeah,
so
I think you've got Northern Lakes.
Yeah,
but I don't know what that consists
of. Water, and I knew that, and I hope they're not listening because I'm not being negative. I just don't know where you're from.
I was going to say, to be fair, when you say Northern Lakes, that's what most of the rest of the U.S. thinks Minnesota is.
Yes, 100%.
Isn't that just Northern Lakes?
And that's what they think. Many folks in Minneapolis think that. So why wouldn't the rest of the country think that?
Right, but again, if you want sports today in the area, you can find it easily. There is basketball at the Rife. There is basketball at Duluth East. There is plenty of hockey at Mars. There is hockey at Heritage. There is hockey in Hermantown. Maybe the best matchup you're going to find might be at that arena today with War Road coming calling.
Yeah, it's because War Road's there, right? Hermantown and War Road's going to be a war, but the best matchup that I think there's going to be is Proctor Little Falls today.
All right, well, if you're going to flex your alma mater, I'm going to do it too because at Heritage, Minnetonka, and Duluth East Tangle.
That's a pretty good one too.
If you want to talk about traditional programs in the area for high school hockey, there are a bunch today.
Yeah, there really, really are. I mean, you can if you're looking for sports today, you can find it. Not even on the TV. Like you can go elsewhere and actually experience firsthand. Because there's some stuff going on TV, right?
No doubt. And if you're venturing out to any of these games in the area today, you can stop at great businesses that support us as well. And Dave Cook is going to tell you about each of them right now.
Yeah, today is a sports day, Brian, and what a better spot to go than Sammy's Pizza, right? I mean, you grab it on the go. It's what we're known for. Again, down in Minneapolis, what's northern Minnesota known for? Woods, lakes, Sammy's Pizza. Right. Our next sponsor, Brian, is, however, the one you and I go to, and we encourage everybody that's going to an event. If you're going to go grab something to eat with the family or whatever.
If you're going to Proctor today, it's right there.
It is right there, and that's the Blackwoods. That's Blackwoods Group and their location, starting with the one in Proctor, because if enough seating, it's got the event center next to it. Great place to go. Two Harbors, if you're running up the shore today. It's probably cold, so it'll be a great spot to go in and grab a toddy or grab lunch or do whatnot. Blackwater right downtown,
right?
Which I know you've been to more than once. You like their
more
chocolate
than a few
fondue,
times. I do like all of that good stuff, and don't forget Tavern because we talked about all these things with Scholastica, all these things with high school. Oh, by the way, UMD is super busy today. The men and women are both in town at Amsoil, but when you're around campus, I've said this before during football games, if you score a touchdown and just keep going Forrest Gump style, you can go ahead and make an order at Tavern on the Hill as well.
Absolutely. And again, the $6 delivery. I mean, how do you argue with that? And finally, the one that when I'm bringing somebody into town, we hit the Blackwoods Group, the Blackswood Restaurant on 26th, because you got a great view of the lake, you got excellent food, great people. Blackwoods Group here in Duluth. And northern Minnesota. Mount Royal Bottle Shop. So if you don't make it to the Two Harbors,
I was going to say, if you're going to camp in front of a TV and watch sports today,
and you'll need a little bit of a toddy,
need a libation to help you out.
Exactly. Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies with all the hockey teams around, especially Minnetonka and East.
And I believe
your stuff where you're going to go.
Just to go further, I believe the Icebreaker tournament is going this weekend as well.
Oh, that's right. So if you need sharpening, you need a new stick, you need all the paraphernalia that goes with the sport. I mean, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies,
number one
right
with the
there
bullet
next to Heritage. You
right.
just have to walk
you
over.
can complete your checklist right there.
Yep. We've got Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance, Arola Architecture Studio, the original, Hoops Brewing. We'll hear a little bit from them in a little while. OAR Holdings. Again, Brian, we have a smoke show at Mars Lakeview. I mean, we've got all these players that have come and are looking to play and have an exciting atmosphere. Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer, and an Advantage Emblem and screen printing.
I was going to say, all these teams you see in town, how many of their jerseys or apparel came from Advantage Emblem as well?
Gracious.
So everything ties together because, again, you look at the sports calendar here for January the 13th, and just about anything you want, you can find. But if you don't want to venture out, because let's just say it's not warm, that's being honest. If you don't want to venture out, you said there are things on TV as well. One of those big things on TV basically all weekend is the NFL playoffs. But when it comes to the NFL playoffs, you can also listen to the games right here on this station as well. But why are we bringing up everything local first? Couple of reasons. Number one, Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook, we're the Northland Sports Page. That's what we do.
Absolutely.
We love to focus and work and attend local sporting events. What's the other reason we're bringing up the NFL playoffs after everything local? Our favorite team is not in it again.
Right. Our favorite team is not. Our preseason picks, I mean, I've still got one.
I got one.
Yeah.
We both got our NFC survivors.
Right. Wouldn't that
mine's in a tailspin and yours is new to this whole equation.
Right. Wouldn't that be fun, though, if they ended up playing each other for something? Like, we would actually have to do a little something as far as...
Well, spoiler alert, if they did, it would actually be in Detroit, which 5-6 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said that because I took the Eagles to lose the Super Bowl.
You know, you always talk about the next person that you've talked to just out and about who listens to the show and it surprises you. So I was at a job fair the other day, and I was talking to the iron workers because, you know, that's part of what I do is deal with getting kids into the trades. And Brian Nelson, who has been the person who I've contacted with the ironworkers for the last 5 years, is retiring. So he introduced me to the new guy. New guy is a listener of our show. We were talking about stuff, so excited to have another listener that I can actually verify.
Now, did he compliment you? Because every time you tell me about people who listen to the show, you love to label yourself as the other guy. But if these people know you better, that couldn't happen here.
Oh, no. 100% that's what happened because Brian said that. Yeah, he's on the radio show. He's the other guy. So,
I think you're making this up.
No,
I think this is
100%.
common man style. This is a bit.
Nope, that is not.
Now, just because the sales team sent an email yesterday that we were both on that it said the Brian Prudhomme Show, that is not what it is. I was waiting for you to read that and call me and go, what in the bleep is this all about?
The other guy may have been a bit by Brian Nelson, but it certainly wasn't a bit from me because I just nod.
Right all right, now. Fair enough. But we promise you that both of us are here, Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. We are both involved in this, even if the Vikings are not involved at all in the NFL playoffs. But that did do one good thing for us. It did spearhead an opening topic for today because we're sports fans. We still care about the postseason in just about every sport you can find. And we're used to it because we're sports fans in Minnesota. We care even when our favorite teams aren't involved. So we're going to address that today twofold, and we're going to do it rapidly because this hour is going to move quickly.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Dave Hoops. We've got Julianne Vasichek coming up later. But we decided to talk about what's your favorite playoff game, sport by sport, that you didn't have a dog in the fight. And for Minnesota fans, there's a lot to choose from. But we also opened it up to Division I college as well. Because the minute we talked about football, we're going to mention some NFL games, but I laughed because you and I both had the same favorite postseason game that we didn't care who won. We just enjoyed it.
Yeah, and frankly, after this year, there might be one or two more that get added in because this was as good. This is like college basketball, good college football playoffs.
Right. And that's going to be kind of the other prong to the topic is we're going to discuss their postseasons, but which one's better, the college format or the pro format? Some of them are easy one way. Some of them to me are easy the other way.
Yeah. And for me, I think it's simple when it comes to what's the best format. But yes, the rest of it we can discuss. College basketball is the way it should be done. But
college basketball is the best. Ask any business owner around the end of March, beginning of April, how much work is being done because everybody's staring at their brackets.
Yeah, I just think that's the easy right one. But the other ones all have their positives.
All right, so since we started down the basketball road and we gave the nod to college as being the best one, do you want to start there with your favorite playoff games that didn't involve a team you cared about? College, I think it's going to be
old.
College, I think is going to be hard to pick a game because there's been so many. But NBA, we talked about this. it's not always games, it's the whole series, because so many of those playoffs, it comes down to 7 or 6 or buzzer beaters to clinch it. And it's not necessarily one game. It's man, I love this rivalry. I love when they play each other.
Yeah, mine. So you're going to have to help me out with some of these, because I remember the one team and how exciting the series was, but sometimes I'll get the other team mixed up.
All right.
I know this is surprising to you.
I am your nookie blankie. I am your safety net.
So first of all, for college basketball, it's the Jordan Ewing game. It's the Georgetown, North Carolina game.
Okay.
So Dad and I
thought maybe it was going to be Georgetown, Villanova, when Villanova shocked the world.
Nope, because Dad and I were playing basketball out in the front, but he had brought the little black and white TV and had plugged it in. So it was dark out. We were playing. It was decent weather, and we were watching that game at the same time. So that's the game that I remember most, because it meant the most, not just the game itself, but it was also Jordan and Ewing. So it was good.
All right, so for me, it's a weird game because I didn't have a dog in the fight, but as a repercussion, I would, because it's the game that got Johnny Flynn the draft stock that he got. It's the multiple overtime game. Again, what is it with, these Big East schools? I believe it was, I'm trying to remember now if it was Syracuse and UConn or Syracuse and Georgetown, but either way, it was a multitude of overtimes, and I might have to Google that to be sure. All I know is we always talk about the day after the Super Bowl should be a holiday because nobody wants to go to work after watching a good sporting event or partying too hard or combination. I wasn't partying at all. I just thought I was going to be home about 3 hours earlier than I was, because in the final minutes, okay, as soon as this ends, I'm going home. 5, 6 overtimes later, okay, I'm still going home when this ends, but I hope that's still today.
Well, the thing is, Brian, and it goes back to what you talked about, there are so many college playoff games that ring a bell. I mean, you remember Loyola Marymount when they were running up and down the floor. I mean, that was must-watch basketball.
Right.
Like, you had to stop and go see Loyola score almost 200 points. I mean, you remember the...
I feel better. It was Syracuse, UConn. I'm not crazy.
The undefeated Vegas team, when with Grandmama and Stacey Augmon, you had to watch. That was must-watch
Duke,
basketball.
Michigan, Duke UNLV.
Yeah, and so college basketball lends itself to those amazing games that you just had to stop and watch, where not every other sport does that.
Right. And many would argue that's why college is so much better, because the NBA doesn't do that often enough. And I think our topic kind of confirms that, because, again, there are good games, but better series.
The rivalry series are the ones that come to
right.
mind.
Now, the one thing that I took out, because it'd be easy to say, well, Lakers-Celtics, because it's still talked about, and it's been 40 years almost since it mattered, and in some cases more than that. I took that out because we ruled that we didn't have a dog in the fight. When the Celtics were playing, I had a dog.
I'll bet you yours are similar to mine.
Okay.
All right. It's Reggie Miller against the Knicks.
It is.
That one where he does the choke thing to Spike. That is probably my favorite series.
I was going to say the Knicks were in some awesome ones that they never won. Because
yes, thank goodness.
They had some good series with the Bulls. They had some great series with the Pacers. They had some great series with the Heat. How many of those did the Knicks actually win?
The Kawhi Leonard Toronto series where he just became Kawhi Leonard and not just
as much as I hate to say it, the Cleveland Golden State series where Cleveland actually won.
Yeah,
I didn't like the
Kevin
outcome.
Love showed up.
Right. Kyrie Irving makes a huge shot and LeBron finally gets it done. I didn't like the outcome, but that was a cool series. Bulls Jazz, to be honest,
yes, I was going to go there.
Was
next.
Pretty amazing. Now, again, did I have no dog in the fight? Technically, geographically, correct. I wasn't cheering for the Bulls. I never did.
See, but that's one of those games where you could sit back at series and just say that guy and that guy versus that guy and that guy. And the NBA does lend itself to, Pippen and Jordan versus Stockton
and the NBA openly admits it. If you're a video game player and you ever played NBA Jam as a kid, that is a 2-on-2 game on purpose, because the NBA can do that with every team.
Yeah. And that Orlando run when it was Penny and Shaq.
Orlando and Houston.
Yep. That was a heck of a series as well. So
you know what else was fun, but it was one series and it was kind of one time only? Lakers Blazers. Back in Rasheed Wallace with Portland.
Yep, and that was
Portland
Kobe and
should have
Shaq,
won
right?
And kind of, dribbled down their leg, to use a basketball term.
Yeah, that's that Kobe step back, right?
Yes,
to win it.
And Shaq with his mouth wide open on the best alley-oop you'll ever see.
Yeah.
To a guy that doesn't have to jump to dunk anyway.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about the NBA is that it's series, it's not games. It's the same in the NHL. Like last year, Edmonton's team, I just started to follow Edmonton's team because, again, about the time I go to bed, but I also wanted to, listen to those guys.
Right.
And they were so ridiculously hot going into the playoffs. And I believe it was Calgary last year. And those teams had played each other twice right before the series. And just the war that went on between those two teams. And, Edmonton can score and score and score. And Calgary was a tough guy team. And yeah, that was a great series.
I love the way you look me right in the eye and you Mike Tice that. That's a tough guy team.
Yeah. Well, and take it back further. North Stars Red Wings, North Stars Blackhawks.
Yep. But again, heavy dog in the fight there.
Yeah, but the series was, it was little, so I cared, but I didn't know.
You didn't know why you
Denny
cared.
Savard be ridiculous against us was still thrilling.
See, and I agree with you back in the day on that. But if you want to go to the NHL, that's the one I struggle with the most because I'm going, maybe this is an indictment on me, especially a guy who covers hockey for this station. But if the Wild aren't in it, NHL-wise, I'm glancing. The remembrance for me of one that was important was, Dallas-Buffalo Stanley Cup Finals. But that was residual effect of Dallas had just become Dallas. It was hard to hate them because it was new, but Derek Plant... Easy. But it wasn't because Derek Plant, Brett Hull, and Jamie Langenbrenner were on that Dallas team that won.
That's true.
Are you bummed for those guys? No, you're not.
No, but I became a Hasek fan. That was the one where I became... No,
right.
Was Cujo or was it Hasek?
I want to say that was Dominic Hasek, but Topher Davis will clarify,
Yes,
I'm sure,
will.
because I don't know a bigger Dominator fan than that.
Yep.
But I was a Mogilny, Pat LaFontaine fan as well because the Sabres were fun back then.
But the Colorado Avalanche, their first run was fun. Who did they play? The one team that I'm glad or wish would have lost, and so it mattered that way, was Vegas. So the thing about the NHL with me is it's easy to pick a team that you're cheering for or cheering against when it comes to Vegas.
Right.
And so that's a little harder because then I end up kind of with a dog in the fight.
Yeah. See, and I'm the ultimate example of not having that because when it's not my favorite team in the NHL, I just become attached to the game, or I don't stay with it long enough. But if I see a tight game, no matter who's playing, I'll tune in. And that's where I look at last year's playoffs as an all-encompassing, just great playoffs because every other minute somebody was in overtime or a multiple overtime game. And even if you're a casual, and I love using that word on this show, you're going, well, I'll watch this. It's 2-2 with a minute left, and suddenly you're glued.
Right. The whole reason we watch sports, Scholastica's women's game was that way. It was a bad game for 2.5 periods.
Right.
And the last half of the third period was crazy.
And the Stanley Cup is a gorgeous trophy, and it's, the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7, all the hockey bobos will say it doesn't get better than that. See, I think it does, and I don't mean necessarily in other sports. Give me high school, give me college hockey all the time over the NHL. But that has everything to do with where we live.
I think the one team that Vikings fans should cheer for, though, and you don't have to have a dog in the fight, but this one you might, is the Maple Leafs because there's the same thing. Great. Oh, they lost again in the first round.
Right. There are less memes about the Vikings, I promise you that.
Yes, exactly correct.
All right, so we've covered basketball and hockey because they're the active sports right now. Football technically is active, but not so fast, Vikings fans. Do you want to go there first, or do you want to go to baseball? Because baseball is weird.
Yes.
Because I would much rather attend and be part of the atmosphere of collegiate baseball. We kind of were with the Northwest League.
Omaha when we talked about this.
I think that would be sweet to just go and absorb and be part of. I don't follow it enough to have a passion for it. When it's on, cool. I'll tune in a little bit. To be quite honest with you, I prefer NCAA softball over all of it at times. But it's Major League Baseball for me. I don't remember getting too enwrapped in playoff series that didn't involve the Twins. Watched them all. My other dog would be the Red Sox, so I couldn't bring them up either. But I could before I was truly a fan because my first biggest memory is the Buckner moment. I was 7.
Oh, God, I'm old. I was in my college dorm watching that.
Yeah.
The one, and I know that it's going to sound like I had a dog in a fight, but this is before I cared about the Cardinals as much as I do now. The Kansas City St. Louis Highway Series where
and because
Joaquin
of the way
Andujar
that ended,
got screwed.
Right.
Yes. So that one was one.
And the Gibson home run. We brought that up 100 times on this show. We'd be remiss if we didn't again.
Yep. The other one is the year that Houston got into the playoffs for the first time, and it was back with BGO and Bagwell and Mike Scott and that group.
You got your arrows goofed up a little bit.
But it's the Mike Scott years.
That Mike Scott was 1986, lost to the Mets.
So it was
Bagwell and BGO might have been your age.
It was the Mike Scott season against the Mets. And that team, that Astros team was a whole lot of fun getting there as well because they hadn't been there, right? So when the Orioles make a run next year,
Kevin Bass and that crew.
When the
Glenn Davis.
When the Orioles make a run next year, or if the Giants make a run next year, we can say they were like that.
See, I like the Giants, but those are the World Series that kind of put me to sleep. Remember when, Brian Wilson and the Beard, those were in back-to-back World Series?
But the Kevin Mitchell teams were good.
Yes, but after that, those were the ones that I kind of go, oh, whatever. I mean, I think we all tuned into the Earthquake series because of the earthquake.
The other series that was that for me, and again, it was because how many family were engaged in it. Nobody cared, but it was the We Are Family Pirates. The 79 Orioles Pirates World Series. And, of course, Dave Parker's always been one of my, favorite ball players. And that team, there were so many people around me that were just locked in on that series, that series held a lot more. You know what I mean? It held a lot more for me as well.
Right. I think two teams that I liked, but I didn't have a dog in the fight because I liked them both. I loved that Blue Jays-Phillies series with Mitch Williams surrendering the bomb to Joe Carter. That was great. The other ones that I struggled with because of no dog in the fight, did I adopt one? Because in the late 80s, early 90s, I hated the Oakland Athletics. I don't anymore. I feel bad for that whole organization. But the Gibby home run came against Oakland. The Earthquake series, San Francisco lost, but newsflash, I was rooting for them. The Reds pummeled Oakland in 90. I loved it, but I didn't bring it up because dog in fight.
Yeah.
I adopted one. I rescued a pet.
That's very true. I mean, we've had the Harvey Wallbanger Brewers against the Cardinals was a fun one, and so
right.
There's a lot of.
I think I would have been a Cardinals fan because it involved a team in Wisconsin.
Yeah, but that team in Wisconsin was a slow pitch softball team.
Right,
like they were fun to watch.
Matthew Leekroyd was born too late.
Yeah,
he'd have been great.
Pete Incaviglia, all those guys that are just like that. Joey Gallo would have been fantastic on that team. That's the kind of team they were.
Absolutely. I brought up Glenn Davis earlier. His cousin Topher to the rescue here. It was Dominic Hasek, and Hull's skate was in the crease per Topher. I don't think he's wrong on either count. But, things happen. I wonder where his heart was there because he's a big Dominic Hasek fan, but he's a big UMD Bulldog fan. So a couple of Bulldogs hoist a cup at the expense of the Dominator.
Yeah. I mean, I know it was a good series. I just can't ever cheer for Dallas.
But that was, I want to say, year 1 or 2 that they existed. Still couldn't right away?
Nope.
Because I did for a while because it was just change of jersey on our guys.
I've told you on this radio show that them moving to Dallas, I disconnected from the NHL until the Wild came.
Wow.
Yes.
Good for you.
So,
see, you're so much more disciplined than I am.
But it's why.
No wonder why your fantasy team is the adult in the room. In this one, you always are.
It's why the NHL for that 10-year, 12-year period is so hard for me because I didn't pay attention at all.
All right, so we're doing football last because we love the NFL, but we both immediately said, well, wait a minute, for this topic, can we bring up Texas USC? And we both said, yep, because
that's the best football
nothing
game
beats
I've ever
that
seen.
for me. I was in Grandma's Sports Garden, and I was known for doing laps in Grandma's Sports Garden or even hitting the dance floor. If you want to visualize that, don't, but I did it. That game was on while I was in that bar. Nobody moved that night. Grandma's Sports Garden, although it had the word sports right in it, after certain hours, was not a sports bar. It was that night.
That is the single best football game I've ever watched. They were just throwing haymakers. There was talent everywhere. Vince Young, I don't know what you can say. Vince Young, by himself at quarterback, won that game.
Right.
I mean, he had players
The
around
problem
him.
with that is if you were a Titans fan, that's the Johnny Flynn game for Vince Young. And he elevated himself, and then you got nothing as a pro career.
Do you know how good Vince Young would be right now when they embrace running quarterbacks?
I know.
Oh, but that game is singly the best game. But here's the story. Semifinals of this year, the Michigan, Alabama, Texas, Washington games.
Those are phenomenal.
Those are pretty dang close.
Right. What do you think of the Washington decision to go be that guy, Mr. DeBoer? We always talk about you want to be the guy after the guy that replaces the legend.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to happen. But what do you do? Like if you're a lifer, and he's a lifer, right? Because he started Division III and worked his way up. If you're a lifer and somebody gives you the keys at Alabama, don't you just have to say yes? It's kind of like if the Yankees
Who says no?
Yeah, if the Yankees call and say you want to be manager here, how do you
Lou Brown that phone call? Oh, I don't know. I got a guy on the other line about some white walls. Can I call you back?
Yeah, I think that if Alabama calls, they've got the most money, they've got the most history. You can I mean, you're never going to need for anything. And if you're confident in your ability, why wouldn't you go there?
Real quick so we can get to Dave Hoops. I struggle with NFL football games not being memorable. A lot of them are. But again, I become Mr. Animal Allies because I have a dog in the fight quickly. I don't know if it's because I have a theory about that team going in. We're going to do pick 'em later in this show, and you're going to find out how we feel about each of the teams that are still alive. Or if it's because you just watch a game unfold and somebody got a call or somebody did something where you're like, well, now I hope this team wins. I have a hard time saying I didn't care.
So I agree with you because I love the sport, and there's things I love about the sport, and if the team that is out there does those things, and I love crazy defense. And so the Bears-Patriots game in 85, right? But yeah,
after the
Super Bowl shuffle.
So I think that was like 46-10.
Wilbur Marshall's one of my favorite players ever, and I have to explain who that is to people. But the Bears Giants in the fog and wind game where Sean Landeta went to punt and the ball moved so far he missed it.
Is that the same one that Scott Norwood missed to win it for the Giants? That Super Bowl?
Nope. This is a playoff game.
Okay.
But the Giants
might have been the same year then.
The Giants-Bills game where Scott Norwood missed.
Yeah.
That one was great too. Lawrence Taylor, again, this is something my dad would have said, right? So people that missed these players playing, like Dad would have said this about Jim Brown, because I never saw Jim Brown, and I would talk about running back de jour, and he'd be like, yeah, well, he's not Gale Sayers.
Right.
So we watch pass rushers, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't see Lawrence Taylor, right? Or we talk about the next great defensive tackle, and it's like, yeah, he's good. He ain't Reggie White, but he's good.
I know. We have reached that generation where we are the get off my lawn
exactly.
guys. I think one of the best playoff games that I ever saw, and it certainly depends on what style you like. Do you remember when the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf, played against that Tampa Bay Bucks, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Warren Sapp defense? St. Louis won, but I want to say it was, with a few minutes left, I want to say it was 10-9.
Well, and
which some people would say is super boring football, but this is what you came for, to see an offense struggle against the defense.
Well, and that Super Bowl that year where it was Tampa and Tennessee.
St. Louis and Tennessee.
St. Louis and Tennessee.
Where the Rams won by a yard. Mike Jones saved the universe.
Most memorable, and I don't like the Patriots, but the Patriots-Atlanta Super Bowl, when Atlanta was up, and it was like, just don't let New England score before halftime. And the minute they did, I looked at my buddy and I said, New England's winning this game. They should never have let them back in it.
Well, and again, I couldn't bring any of those up because no dog in the fight. With the Patriots, I certainly did. We bump out with Wish You Were Here because Vikings NFL playoffs. We wish you were here. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook, Dave Hoops is next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
That song is happy. We talked about the Vikings missing the NFL playoffs. That does not make me happy, but I'll tell you this much. A guy that always seems to be happy, finds a positive spin on everything, is Mr. Dave Hoops. He's one of our illustrious sponsors. We've got quite the list. Here's Dave Cook with more.
OAR Holdings, Krause Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer, Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Sammy's Pizza, the Blackwoods Group, including their locations on London Road, in Proctor, in Two Harbors, Blackwater right downtown, and Tavern on the Hill up by the colleges, Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance, The Original, Aurora Architecture Studio, kept the lights on when nobody else did, and then our next guest, Dave Hoops from Hoops Brewing.
Without further ado, let's go right to him because, again, we bumped in with the song Happy because he is Mr. Positivity. Tell us what you're happy about this weekend, Dave Hoops. For us, I know it's no lack of sporting events to attend, to follow, Mid-January, pretty busy. Good morning, sir.
Wow, good morning. Lots of things. That's a great entry into this conversation. I went to the Dogs game. That was great last night. Very happy about that win. And super happy about the Timberwolves, the way they're playing right now. Really excited for Ice Bowl 2. We already texted about that tonight. And also, I'm also happy. I want to just lead off with this. We talked about this. We have tickets for all the UMD games at work down at Hoops Brewing. And today, it's short notice, but we happen to have 4 tickets for the ladies' game today at 3 versus Bemidji State, number 7 ranked ladies. So anybody listening, if you want to text 218-721-8880, that's 218-721-8880. What year did Hoops open? First right answer, the tickets will be waiting for you at the bar for the 3 o'clock game if anybody's interested. Sorry to jerk that out of the beginning. But
no, that's fine. You told me you would do that, and we talked about how you're happy. You're about to make some people happy because free tickets courtesy of Hoops. If you know what year Hoops Brewing opened, now Dave, I think, is Googling the answer. Don't give it away.
No, I won't.
But again, give that number out one more time. I think I got 218-721-8880.
That is correct. And we'll do this occasionally throughout the winter on the show because we love to give away tickets and we love people that love sports and we love UMD hockey, boys and girls.
No doubt about that. And UMD, St. Scholastica, just about every high school you can think of. Icebreaker tournament on the youth side. Plenty of hockey action today. I think you're probably eating this up, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, it's great. The Dogs play Minnetonka today. It would be amazing if they could stay close in that game.
The Hounds do, yes. I like your style, calling them the Dogs. Yes, Duluth East Minnetonka.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, I'm pulling a Dave.
I speak
today.
hoops. You're good. It's a Dave thing. I speak hoops. All right, so Dave Hoops, I'm going to do with you what Dave and I are going to do in the final segment today, so we won't say much, but I love your football prognostications week in and week out. So what I'm going to do, you can spend as much time telling me why as you'd like, but I'm going to walk you through each of the playoff games this weekend. You tell me who you got winning them, okay?
Oh, thank you. This is going to be great. Appreciate it.
So let's start with this. The playoffs kick off this afternoon. Cleveland at Houston, Browns at Texans. Kevin Stefanski against the defensive guru, Coach Ryans. Who you got?
I have Houston, and it's really interesting. It's the team with the most turnovers in the league, the Browns. 2 heavily penalized teams. I think that the X factor is the youngster who isn't very good against man coverage, CJ, but I think that he's going to have a great game, and I love the Flacco story, of course, but the Houston story is better for me, and I'm going to pick them 27-24.
All right, I like it. I'm going to tell you this. Radio is not a visual medium, and you knew that, but Dave Cook was face-palming the whole time because just about everything you said are the things I was telling him earlier today as well. But again, Dave and I will expand, Dave Cook and I, that is, in the final segment today. But you're getting Dave Hoops prognostications now. Dave Cook, I would say go with his before ours, wouldn't you?
100%. Dave's got this light-heartedness about his picks.
He's just a more positive person. I'd be more positive in what he's saying.
He doesn't get blinded by my,
Well, and people today, radio's not a visual medium, but they'd be blinded by Dave Cook's shirt.
I blend in.
Moving on to what Dave Hoops anointed Ice Bowl 2. Miami visiting Kansas City. Sub-zero temperatures apply. Who you got, Dave Hoops?
Well, first, I don't think there's a controversy that they're trying to make out of it. I think it's only on Peacock, if I'm right.
Yeah, the streaming service being exclusive homes for NFL playoff games, that's a different story for a different time. I have them, so I'm not worried about it, but I think you're robbing the general public, and a sport that's already king to do that is insane.
I think, though, Dave, there might be something to the Taylor Swift fans don't watch the NFL, but they want to watch this. So if we put it on there and NBC makes a couple of shillings, we're good to go.
It's not like the NFL has shied away from making money before, and I love that Dave Cook brings up shilling more often than Kurt's family. Go ahead.
Well, and let's just ask, has the decline of Mr. Kelsey this season had anything to do with his love life? Now, that's a People magazine discussion.
Right,
so
there's another.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's good tabloid type stuff. I do know some tabloid style writers in our area, but I don't know if they'll take you up on that. It's interesting because Whether they're related or not, I'm not sure. But I've said on this show before, people get so upset about the Taylor Swift discussions, and I laugh at how upset they get, where the people that should be thrilled about it are the Chiefs because it's masked how bad they've been lately. But I think this team flips a switch. What do you think, Dave Hoops? Who you got in that one?
You know, I think Miami's going to win, but I'm picking KC for all the reasons we just talked about.
Right.
And the X factor, really, the X factor to me is their coach, not just Mahomes. Andy Reid is a beauty. Just that's all you need to say. And, you know, they need to win this game. Their home field advantage kind of got blown away because nobody has an advantage in this game due to that. I think that the Chiefs win it in a good, close game. 28 points for them. Let's say 27 for Miami. But I do think Tua is going to have a pretty good game, and he's terrible. He's 0 for lifetime, under 40 degrees or something like that, I was reading. I think a great game. I'm going to pick the Chiefs in a nail-biter, and it should be a lot of fun.
All right, let's keep this moving. I like the coach take that you had because after a week that saw Bill Belichick have to move on if he moves on, Pete Carroll have to move on if he moves on, Nick Saban hang it up.
Mike Vrabel.
How long? Well, yeah, Mike Vrabel on a different tier than those other guys, but you know, Nick Saban obviously exiting as well. You brought up Andy Reid. I wonder how much longer, win or lose, he chooses to do this. But let's go to Sunday's triple header, and we'll move a little bit quicker because I want Dave to sneak in some questions too, and we got to get Coach Vasichek on the show here shortly. Pittsburgh and Buffalo. I don't think Pittsburgh has a chance, but I've said that for 5 weeks in a row maybe, and Mike Tomlin keeps winning. Who you got, Dave Hoops?
I'll go quick. It's Buffalo all the way. They are they're my pick for the Super Bowl. So I'll just say that right now and leave it there.
All right, so I've said this before. I'll say it again now, and I'll probably say it again later in the show. Packers-Cowboys. To me, the winner is any shower in Minnesota, because if any Minnesota fan says anything positive about either of those two teams, you should have to shower immediately. But who wins this game?
Dallas wins this game. I'm not a hater of the Packers. I tend to root for them in the playoffs, but I don't like Dallas at all. But I love Dak, and I also think that Dallas is going to make a lot of noise and at least get to the NFC Championship game. There's my pick.
Lions hosting the Rams, and a couple of quarterbacks with some revenge, if you will. Goff versus the Rams, Stafford versus the Lions. Who wins?
Every day the Rams win that one, and it's not even about the revenge. It's just that Stafford is deserved better. The Rams are a solid team, and I don't want Detroit to win. I'm just picking the Rams.
All right, fair enough. I don't mind if Detroit wins. I'm with you though. I think the Rams are the better team if they play it fundamentally correct. We'll see what happens. I got a feeling that one's going to be a blowout. I don't know which direction. Monday night, it's Philly traveling to Tampa. We all made fun of the NFC South because somebody has to win it, but Philadelphia has been worth making fun of here recently too. And news this morning that A.J. Brown won't play. Who you got?
I don't mind the fact that he can't play. I feel bad for him, but I don't care for Philadelphia. Really, they're fans. And Baker's just fun. So I'm going to pick the Bucs just because I really would prefer the Eagles to go away.
All right. So Dave Cook has a glow about him because you talked positively about his guy, Baker Mayfield. We've only got a couple minutes, but I know, Dave Cook, you've got good questions. So pick your best of the best, one or two, and let's roll.
All right. So we had some college football coach resign this week, and we've heard nothing but Saban's the best coach of all time. Dave, I want to put some names and numbers in front of you, and I want you to make the argument that either Saban is the greatest or he's just current. All right, you ready for this? Woody Hayes went 238, 72, and 10, five-time national championship. Nick Saban, 280 wins, 69 losses, 7 national championships. Frank Leahy from Notre Dame, 4 national championships, only 107 wins, but only 13 losses. Pop Warner, we name a whole trophy after him.
There's a whole league level of play after him.
4-time national champion, 336 wins, 114 losses. Bobby Bowden, Topher Davis knows a little bit about Bobby. 377 wins, but 129 losses, 2-time national champion. The original Wishbone, Bud Wilkerson at Oklahoma, 3-time national champion, 145 and 29. Eddie Robinson, 9-time champion at the HBCU level, 408 wins, 165 losses. Newt Rockne, he of the speech, three-time national champion, 105-12. Notre Dame coaches don't stay around as long, but they win. Tom Osborne, Nebraska, 225 wins, 40 losses, three-time national champion.
We only have a 2-hour show. How many coaches do you have left?
Bear Bryant, six-time national
more.
champion, 323 wins, 85 losses. Again, Saban won 7 times, 280 wins. John Gallardi, 4-time champ at the NIA and D3 level, 489 wins and 103 losses. And, of course, P.J. Fleck, no nationals, but 50-34.
Not to be like a judge in court, but is there a question, Counselor?
I want to know who the best coach of all time in college football is.
Dave Hoops, go ahead.
That was beautiful, Dave. Well done. And you could have just saved it all because I would have just voted Bear Bryant before you even spoke. A lot of reasons. Longevity first, nearly 40 years. More of a classic Lombardi-type coach. I think he's synonymous with the best, and I'll keep it short.
Now, I know it doesn't make for great radio when one of you says something and I jump in with I agree or absolutely or yep, because I could have. Because when you told me you were going to run this list by Dave Hoops, what did I say to you right away this morning? I said, Nick Saban is awesome. I'm not sure he's the best at his own school. I brought up Bear Bryant right away. Now, as you read off that list, I will tell you a couple other things real quick. Tom Osborne was the one that I feared as a child going, well, that team is going to win because Tom Osborne is in charge. I can give Bobby Bowden some love because I like seeing Topher Davis smile, and he's probably our most dedicated West Coast
and
listener.
He was fun.
Right. Topher or Bobby? Both.
Topher's fun, but yeah, Bobby.
Topher's pretty fun. But then my father is a Johnny, graduate of 1970. So if I don't bring up gags a little bit because the stories I heard, I'm being remiss. So I'm going to localize it, and I'm going to take the St. John's guy, but if I stick to D1, I'm going Bear Bryant or Tom Osborne.
See, Tom Osborne was the answer.
And I hate Nebraska.
Until the fact he couldn't change when football changed, right? He just couldn't. Woody Hayes was fantastic, but he beat some kid up on the sidelines, which takes him right out of it, doesn't it? But how about Eddie Robinson? And 400 wins,
right?
And all Doug Williams and that whole group of players that he gave opportunities to and won.
What about real quick? Who's the first coach that made an impression on you? Like somebody says college football and the coach that you think of immediately, good or bad. Because for me, it's Lou Holtz. Because Notre Dame was on constantly, and people would remind me, oh, he used to coach the Gophers, and I went, well, why'd we get rid of him? Well, he didn't do anything here, and he left right away. But who's the coach that if somebody says college football, you go, oh.
Yes, there's 3, right? It's Woody Hayes first because that was, when I was a kid, that was the guy you didn't like, Woody Hayes. Lou Holtz is one of them, but it is because he turned the Gophers from a laughingstock into at least a decent team for 2 years. But the and you're going to have to help me remember his name because it's corpuscles jumping and blood pressure pumping, Gopher football coach, the one who coached
it's not Tim Brewster, is it?
No, it's
Jim Wacker?
Yes, Jim Wacker. Thank you for the name, but he's the one that got me gassed up for college football.
I was going to say, as long as you didn't say John Gutekunst, we were going to be fine. Dave Hoops, who you got? Who's the first name that comes to mind when somebody says, hey, college football?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'd probably Bear Bryant again, but you know what came to mind when you said that immediately for me was Dean Smith, but then you guys switched it right
I know.
to football,
if you go college sports,
it's okay.
Yeah, if we would have gone college sports entirely, I think I would have probably listed
Brooks,
15 basketball coaches before I named a football coach, but that's me. Speaking of that's me, one of the things I love to do is come down to Hoops Brewing. As we close, give everybody the best reasons why. We can talk sports with you forever, and we do, but we're being remiss if we don't talk beer. Give it to us.
Well, thanks, guys. This has been just super fun. It's going to be a great...
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Great day. So we have a brand new batch of Rink Rat, and like you mentioned, the biggest youth women's girls high school or hockey tournament in the country is going on, Icebreakers tournament, and so Rink Rat, brand new batch of Keller Pills. Brian, we got peach and pear and the even more exciting cherry stout coming out just for you. And English Porter is back, which is not many breweries make a porter. So we've got a lot of good stuff, and of course we've got UMD hockey on both sides today as well. We've got a lot going on down there. super fun.
Again, don't forget to text for those tickets. Maybe you got a winner already, but 218-721-8880. Free tickets for tonight. UMD's women, 3 o'clock against Bemidji, courtesy of Dave Hoops. All you got to do is tell them what year Hoops opened. All I know is we're glad it did. Thank you again, sir. We'll do it again next Saturday.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the games today and tomorrow and Monday.
Absolutely. That's our guy, Dave Hoops. One segment left in hour one. We talked to an overtime winner. Dave Hoops is giving away free UMD women's tickets. This is one of the best the UMD women have ever had, but she may want you to attend a different game today. Stick around. We'll be right back. We are going to talk to a lady who is just on fire in terms of accolades and coaching victories here recently. Julianne Vasichek should join us shortly. We'll work on that. Well, Dave Cook tells you to work on visiting all our great sponsors.
Absolutely, Brian. And we just had a really great conversation with Dave Hoops, and heading down to Hoops Brewing right now. I know he's super excited about the English Porter. We have a new player on Scholastica team from England, and so we need to get him there to see what he thinks about the Porter, right? OAR Holdings, Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer in northeastern Minnesota. Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Sammy's Pizza, the Blackwoods Group, including their locations Up by Us, a Tavern on the Hill, Blackwater right downtown, Two Harbors location, Proctor location, and of course the wonderful location on London Road. Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies if you're here for the icebreaker and you need a little bit of something for your team or for yourself, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophy right next to the Heritage Center. And Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance and the original Arola Architecture Studio.
That is very well done. We're about to find out if our phones are very well done or simply done because it wasn't cooperating with me. Trying to connect with Coach, but let's see if she's there. So this might be a live on-air production meeting. But Julianne Vasichek, are you with us? And good morning. I'm going to say that's a no. I just got a text that said call again. So we're going to go ahead and call her again. Her segment might be a little bit short, but you can recap the big victory last night.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian, because it was one of those games that for the first period and a half, you were like, goodness gracious, why am I still here? We got pinned into our own zone. Concordia played really, really well last night. And then our first line and our second line decided that we weren't going to lose this game. We had some excellent play by the defenseman. Lisa LaRoche was aggressive. She's from Minnetonka. Lizzie Northquest from Blaine. She's our senior captain. She played really, really well and hustled all over the place. We had really good goaltending from Kinsey Cole, who's up from Cohasset. But the story of tonight or last night was Abby Polkamp from Brainerd. We won 4-3 in overtime. She had the hatter, but the trick was she won it in overtime so quickly. It was 22 seconds in. She took the puck, dangled a couple of times, plugged it in underneath the goalie into the net, and the place went bonkers. We love sports, not always because the game is pretty, but how it ends dramatically, and that was a dramatic win.
Absolutely. And again, what will they do for an encore? You don't have to wait very long to find out. This afternoon, you get a second shot at things.
Well, what's going to happen is their announcer's going to have a much better starting lineup because he got pretty excited about the song last night and maybe nobody else could hear their starting lineup. So we're going to fix that for sure.
All right. So speaking of fixing, we'll see if we fix the phones. We'll try Coach again. And if we don't have her, I'll tell you what, we'll just kind of echo her accolades for her because she'd probably prefer we do that anyway, because I know we've asked her a number of times, can we say this about you? Can we say this about you? And she's too humble. She shrugged her shoulders and said, I'd rather you didn't.
I was teasing her yesterday. I said, can I say Hall of Famer when I announce you as the head coach? And she just said, no. There was no other stuff. Julianne's usually talkative. It was just no. So we didn't.
All right, let's see if we can get her talkative today. Coach, are you there? And good morning.
I am. Good morning, guys.
All right, awesome. So we are going to do this Micro Machine style because we've got under 6 minutes left with the segment. So, again, Dave, recap the big victories. Recap how you're feeling about your team right now because things are on the upswing and hoping to continue today.
I think last night's win just showed great resilience. I think it's something we've been talking about over the last couple of years with this group in particular that's been, aging through the program. We've had some tough losses at times, and we've gotten down and not been able to come back. And I think yesterday that win just showed, a bit of resilience. Being down 2-0 isn't easy against a team that works as hard as Concordia, and they just kind of chipped at it. And I will say since earlier in the season, even sometimes when we're in those tight games and we get a goal scored on us, they've come back, and that was very indicative in the St. Kate series as well. So we're just really happy to see how they responded.
No question about that. And because we are pressed for time, and I know Dave Cook wants to talk to you about your team, I want to squeeze this in before the 4.5 minutes we have left go by, and we don't at all, because coaches are great about making it about their team and not about themselves. But we do have to make a little bit of this segment today about you, because congratulations being named the 14th member of UMD Women's Hockey 25th anniversary team. You always talk to me about your great memories. I talk to you about loving watching you play. What did this mean to you in general? This is awesome.
It's incredible. I've played with so many exceptional players, and within the program 25 years, there's been so many. I mean, I've been following the release of them, and just a lot of them were teammates, and just kind of knowing that there's been multiple Olympians coming through the program. I mean, I think as the next 25 years go on, I'll probably drop out of that list, and that's a good thing, because the program continues to recruit high level winners, and that's great to see. So it's just I can't say enough about my time at UMD and how wonderful it was, and what an impact it made on my life to play for Shannon and still call her a friend. So absolute honor.
I just don't see her dropping off that list. But go ahead, Dave Cook. She's, again, too humble. Go ahead.
I have two questions, Don. I only have time for one. Right. The first one, the one I'm going to talk about in the future is I want to talk to you about playing for Shannon. But we're not going to do that now, because I want to talk about your team real quick and some of the players from last night. That game got really, really chippy and got a little bit taken away. But I thought your player, Lisa LaRoche, kind of set a tone then afterwards, like, you can't mess with us. Tell us about the aggressive nature of last night, and then talk to us about how your players kind of settled it down, whether it was Lisa or Martin or any of those other players.
Yeah, Lisa's come a long way in her 4 years. I think she was somebody that, has always been very physical, and she protects her teammates. And so, she's kind of had to learn how to control that at times. And I think she's doing an exceptional job right now. And the fact of the matter is, there are times where they get inside the goalie and things like that, and you got to let them know that they cannot get that easily in, or you cannot just put a hit against a teammate. But at the same time, I heard a lot of talk on the bench last night just about how we need to keep playing our game. And the thing is part of our identity is speed. And so we know that, some teams are going to have to try and slow us down in certain ways. So the biggest thing is you can't necessarily protect the reffing crew, each night. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different, and sometimes they're just going to call games certain ways. So you got to find a way to work through that adversity. And that's part of the resilient message, that I talked about earlier too.
Absolutely. So in 2 minutes or less, because Dave and I do it all the time, and Dave will do it because he knows that's where he's going this afternoon, but I'm going to give you the floor just to encourage folks to come out and watch your game this afternoon.
Yeah, there's a great tournament in town, the Icebreaker, great youth tournament, and, it's a 2:00 game. All these series in the MIAC are very exciting. One great thing about moving to the MIAC is every team is good, and on any day, any team can steal a game. So I expect that Concordia is going to come back prepared today. They're going to come back hungry. You could, kind of see their heartbreak last night when they pushed so hard to tie that 3-3, and then we ended it in OT. So it's one of the best things about this league is we get pushed on a daily basis. And one of the best things about that is it prepares our student athletes for life, how to get through adversity and how to keep working through tough situations and how to kind of manage emotions. So if you want to see some great hockey today, and if you've been enjoying the PWHL and seeing that, you're going to see a high-level hockey game today at 2:00 here at Mars. So, yeah.
Coach, you did such a great job of brushing on so many of the things that I had the honor of talking to you at halftime of the Saints women's basketball game back on Wednesday. The phone bugaboo, the one positive we can get out of that is, I've probably said this to you before, but Coach, we owe you one, because we need to continue this discussion soon, because there's so many things I want to touch on. The growing of the game. You mentioned the big Icebreakers tournament, the PWHL having that next level to shoot for, your team playing as well as they are. The women's basketball team, you're a big supporter of them for the Saints, and they're growing as well. My point is, let's do this again, because I love talking to you, and we need to do it for much longer.
Absolutely. And locally, I would just encourage everybody to continue to support, all of our local student athletes, and especially those women athletes, because we've got a lot of exceptional ones playing in the PWHL right now and within the local programs. So continue to get out there and support your programs.
Coach, we appreciate you. We're bumping you out with Meet Me in Montana. I've never called you that, and I still won't.
I won't either.
You're Julianne for me. Coach, good luck today, and we'll talk soon.
You and my mom, Brian. Thanks.
All right. I have that in common with her. I'll take it. That'll do it for hour number 1. Stick around. Hour number 2 is next. A lot of football, post-mortem, Viking style. Stick around. Northland Sports Page. We'll be right back.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.